Hey, gather around. We got something to talk about. It is the morning huddle. This is Talking Silver and Black. We do it every day at 7. RJ Ochoa, Bogging the Boys. I'm Rob Thompson. Easy E keeping this train on its tracks for the next 3 hours. Congratulations to the Shogun ticket winner. We will be giving away another pair of Shogun tickets. They're going to be giving me a little pre-party tomorrow night, Thursday at Casablanca at 7 o'clock. I have a pair of tickets that we'll give away here in the next 2 hours. I'm going to say about 8:30, 8:28 or so, 8:27. Let me pencil that in, RJ. You ready for the second half of the season?
I mean, I guess.
I think that's the general attitude, isn't it?
You didn't get to offer takes on the All-Star weekend. It was, look, I'll say it. It was kind of flat for Wemby. And that's not Wemby's fault. I'm happy the Louis Vuitton stuff happened. That's cool. But, you know, I felt I wanted so much more. You know what I mean? And he was let down. I had a great tweet. I don't know if you saw. It said, just like a standard Spurs. I'm paraphrasing now, but just like a standard Spurs game, Wemby was let down by his teammates.
Yep.
So,
Anthony Edwards shooting left-handed. What the hell's going on over here? And I was afraid of it, and they did it. He had to wear the brown. Had to wear the brown sweatshirt. And I'm surprised the Louis Vuitton even let him in after they saw him. Like, dude, you're beyond help. Like, really, you're going to be representing our brand, walking around in that brown.
If there was a Louis Vuitton Wemby jersey, would you wear it?
Well, hell yeah.
I know. Actually, on this line, Jason and I were talking yesterday about, we talked about sports for 4 hours, obviously. But we were talking about the Spurs, again, obviously. And the subject of LeBron came up. And I said, if LeBron ever became a Spur, would you get his jersey? And Jason very proudly said, no, I'm too good for that. I wouldn't get a LeBron Spurs jersey. And I said,
okay, let me ask you the question, because I'm on Jason's side here.
Oh my God.
Do you own or would you ever chase a Jordan Wizards jersey?
Different.
How about a Shaq Phoenix Suns jersey?
Am I a Wizards or a Suns fan? No.
But I don't even think Phoenix fans would ever buy a Shaq jersey. It was a pit
I think
stop.
that they totally would. That would be cool.
I think if he ever arrived, it would be such a pit stop, old man tour part of it that it might be worthy of a T-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Or I don't know.
But is out in full force today.
LeBron would never be a Spur, just like Shaq is never going to be ever thought of as a Celtic.
Are you excited for the second half of the season?
Absolutely not. But I will say this, that as we head down the other side of this slope, I have been starting to pay a little bit more attention to college basketball, and it does kind of lend Spurs fans, if we're in this for the draft, which it appears we are, you might as well start paying attention. And I've seen a couple of dudes over the last couple of days where I'm kind of like, all right, if this is the road we're on, this point guard for Kentucky.
Don't do this.
I'm just saying that has a little bit of something that is very unique in basketball. It's not a great draft, but
we have a point guard. His name is Trae Young. We're good. We don't need to talk point guards.
We kind of do. I mean, we kind of do.
Don't.
No, it's a worthy conversation.
I'll ask you the question I asked Jason. If in the summer the Spurs do not have a player on their team that has been an all-star in the last 3 years, is it a failure?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So then what are you doing wasting your time watching college basketball for to find your point?
Because I think I found one.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you can have your little point guard project, but the point guard that I'm interested in is Trae Young. That's the future that I need to get to.
RJ, I like Trae, and I'm not saying get rid of him, but we have to be realists here. He is not a long-term starting point guard in the NBA. He's not. He is an NBA point guard, and he's worthy of 20 minutes a game, worthy of 15 minutes a game. He's worthy of time on the court, but there's a skill set that he will not and ever have. And either you have to improve leaps and bounds everybody around him, or you improve the quality of the point guard to have him help the other guys. And there's some guys out there that would help. And if we are going to continue to do what we're doing, 11 wins well past midway of the season, we're going to be in a position to draft somebody. And it appears by action and by history, the Spurs have no intention other than to sign a big-time free agent, move those picks, which I would say is probably 50-50. But the other part of the 50 is a draft. And I think Rob Dillingham at Kentucky, if I'm looking out there, I'm going, well, if this is the way we're going, I think this guy might have something. So it's time for me as an NBA fan, as a silver and black guy, to start going, well, hurricane's coming. I can either have a party, but let's pull some sandbags and get ready for it, because this is imminent. We're going to be in the lottery and have a couple of opportunities to go really, really high in this.
I just don't know. I can't put all my eggs in the draft is going to save us again. I can't. I mean, I'm
not saying save. I'm giving you I'm grasping on one little branch before I fall into the abyss. I mean, literally, as Spurs fans, I think we all are, because what we saw over the weekend was the NBA is ready to catapult Wemby into the stars. They're ready to send him. They're ready. They want him. They want the Spurs to be successful. They are setting the table. And as we come into this season, at the end of the season, it's really going to be interesting to watch as we saw all those young stars be given the platforms to become what is coming. Anthony Edwards was really Shai Gilgeous. We saw the stars really play well, but the old school Dame repeats. The old school guys are still there. And I'll be interested to see what the storyline in the playoffs is. Is it finally time for Jason Tatum to ascend in the Celtics, or will it be yet again guys from the near and the long-term past? With that in mind, the near and long-term kind of come together in Giannis and Milwaukee. Over the weekend, as everybody kind of took a breath and looked forward to the second half of the season, Doc Rivers talked about how he became the head coach of the Bucks. And, by his intimation was, I didn't really want to do this. And, I was on the bench and I was just kind of watching, and I just acquiesced and I did it. And since I've joined, our team sucks. JJ Redick played for Doc. I almost fell out of there, but I caught it. JJ Redick played for Doc in LA. They share a history with the Sixers. So there's some lineage between the two. This is JJ Redick in response to Doc giving, and what JJ said, an excuse for coming back in his team's performance.
I've seen the trend now. I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard. It's hard. We get it. Just like getting traded in the middle of the season is hard for a player. We get it. Mm-hmm. But it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. They lose to Memphis. Oh, it's his players' fault. Memphis was playing G League guys and two-way guys. And then you look at his quotes over the weekend. Now he wants to take credit for the James Harden trade to the Clippers working out. He wants credit for that. There's never accountability with that guy.
JJ Redick talking about his former coach. Now,
you dropping that guy.
I'll tell you, everything he said is true. I'm not a current Doc Rivers fan. I was a Doc Rivers fan in the past, but I think his methodologies are obvious, and JJ Redick pointed it out, that he'll take every bit of success, but he'll blame the players whenever there's a problem.
I don't know what. So I agree with you, by the way, on JJ and his point, and it's well said. JJ's really coming up. It's a lot of times this like hot rising media personality ultimately fizzles. JJ feels a little bit different.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a little bit of staying power here. But anyway, what does Doc have to be so surly about? I mean, like right now. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you've been there for 5 minutes, man. You know what I mean? Like, what are you so bothered by right now? What is like
because
stuck
his
in your
team
craw?
Sucks. No matter where he goes, there's always something. By the time he left the Clippers, you're like, dude, get a hold of your team. And then he gets to Philadelphia and the chaos that ensued. I mean, when he was a Celtic coach, he had the perfect mixture of exactly what I thought a modern coach needed to be. But since then, it has just been a steady digression into They're not good enough. They're not living up. This is hard, and stars, and all the things that he's saying. And I when I heard JJ, I was like, dude, you hit it on the head, and I'm glad NBA types are seeing what I felt like I was seeing. But then Austin Rivers retorted.
Biased.
Austin, his son, he even coached his son. Remember, there in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I thought as soon as Austin Rivers was going to say anything, it would be the typical son defense. But listen to what Austin Rivers has to say. And I think what he's saying is valid.
First off, I don't feel responsible to take up for my dad. He's a grown man. He can do his own thing. But in this regard, I just simply don't agree with it. For someone who's not accountable, he seems to always be held responsible, considering he's the guy that's always fired when things don't go right. He got fired in the bubble for a 3-1 lead versus the Denver Nuggets, which in half his team didn't want to be there. They had players saying that their mind wasn't there. He had guys leave. That happened. Then he gets fired for losing to a team that was favored over him, which was the Celtics last year. It seems like he's always responsible. It's just as strange coming from JJ. And I have some love for JJ. You're my dookie. You know that. You're my bro. I love you. It's just your best years were with the Clippers. I don't think he saved your career. I appreciate you, Pat. But this just seems a little bit weird. They're 3-7. Dame has missed most of those games. Middleton's missed a lot of those games. They haven't even had their full team yet. We'll see what happens. The pressure is there. They do have to perform. But in terms of accountability, like what are we doing here? Your best years in the NBA were when you played for him in the Clippers. Let's not forget that. I don't know if there's like frustration there or there's tension there between you. I know a lot of times we had to sit you towards the end of the game due to defensive reasons, but you had your best years as a starter there, especially our whole system was drafted around you because you're a shooter. You're not a guy who could put the ball on the floor. You were a strictly shoot guy. You're not like Klay Thompson or Steph who could put the ball on the floor. You're a guy who could catch and shoot. And you did it at a high level. Hell of a career, by the way. Big fan. But your best years were under him. It's just very ironic and kind of weird that you have this energy towards him in terms of him never, ever being accountable, considering he's always been responsible.
I have a take. Okay, it's kind of a mini grievance. I know this isn't the time.
Oh, no, it's always the time.
As a society, when we think we're like cooking, we misuse the word ironic all the time. Like
oh, yeah.
Yeah. This wasn't ironic,
it wasn't
Austin.
ironic at all.
Okay, just so we're clear. Like, I know that you think that was a burn, but it just actually was literally incorrect. I think that Austin's point or retort was mostly valid, but it got a little bit personal. I don't think that JJ was personal against Doc. And, Austin defended, I guess, Doc in saying,
that was not ironic, by the way.
Well, yeah, it wasn't. I mean, nothing about it was ironic, but I guess he defended Doc in saying they're 3-7. Dame's missed most of those games. Nothing about what JJ said was like, oh, the Bucks suck. Doc sucks. You know what I mean? Like it had nothing to do with their record. It had everything to do with what the things that Doc is saying.
Right.
And that's completely on Doc Rivers at this point in time. Like he's the one, the things that people are coming for him for at this point in time are completely self-induced. No, like you're saying the team sucks, and that's fair. But at the end of the day, are you worried about the Bucks? Like the Bucks are a Final Four team in the East, right? At the very least, like on talent alone, they'll get there. And so you have no idea what that ultimately turns out to. But this moved the goalposts for me a little bit. Like Austin was defending against things that weren't even there. Like, why did we have to talk about who JJ Redick was as a player? Like that had nothing to do with this conversation.
Well, I think you said, dude, everything you're complaining about, he did for you. Like he put an offense together that fit your skill set. He protected you on defense. I don't understand why you're talking about making excuses because yeah, you can say what you want, but the dude got fired for things a couple of times weren't even his fault. I mean, the bubble shouldn't be held against anybody, no matter. And the further we get away from it, the more we realize that was all fake. So
I'm not holding anything against
no,
Doc
but I
in the
do
past,
think on the other side that Doc's time has come and gone. That for his success will lie solely on this skill set of his players. He's not going to improve them. He might put them in different situations to make them a little bit more successful. But his time as an improver and, a team grower like he did in Boston, which he inherited by a bunch of dudes that came by way of other stuff. And then the way he did in Philly. Now he's just a dude that roll out the ball and hope everybody gets along. He'll draw some nice plays up for you. But the moment things go south, there's nothing there. He doesn't communicate with his guys. And I think that is what is being reinforced here. But I also never took into account that Doc has paid the price sometimes for things that weren't necessarily on him.
I would also offer I don't think anybody judged Doc in the past off of sample size. I mean, Doc's had time. You know what I mean? Like he's never had a small sample size that worked against him. Like he's always had time to put together an entire project. And nobody like the take here is not Doc sucks. The take is not he's the worst coach in the NBA. The take is Doc is making this a lot more volatile than it has to be. I mean, he's stirring the pot of drama. The Bucks are not a dramatic team, and they have become this meme and this joke in the same way the Sixers were. I mean, and the common denominator there is him and his behavior, not his skills or assets on the floor as a coach. This is everything, for at least from my vantage point, about what he's doing in terms of non-game action. What this whole thing that JJ even responded to was so unnecessary from Doc. What are you doing? What good is coming from these conversations that you're offering, or this information that you're offering? Like this is only creating more dysfunction that you were supposed to be brought in to solve and cure.
And okay, so that's one experienced coach that has skins on the wall that can say, I know how to get to the mountaintop. We'll listen to you. And he has gotten fired and destroyed for some things that, let's be real, Coach Pop hasn't even been considered getting fired for. I mean, he suffered, lost some guys, had guys mad at him to leave. Moves have been made. At what point will it ever happen that the Doc treatment finally starts landing in San Antonio, where people start going, yeah, but tired of excuses here. What do you mean we all got to get to know each other? What are you talking about? These guys have been around each other long enough.
If you asked your Facebook friends, which is a interesting net to cast, I recognize that. But if you asked people that on the book and said, should Pop be fired? Should Pop be this? I think most people would say no.
But
you know what I mean? Like, and that's the loudest sector of fan that there is. You know what I'm saying? Like there are a lot of people who are frustrated and a lot of people who feel like Pop should be held accountable for this, because the fact that we're sitting on 11 wins right now is pathetic. I mean, it's not just embarrassing. It's not just sad. It's actually it's an incredible under-delivering on this season.
And did you get the sense over the weekend that there was this, damn, why aren't they better? There was this, man, I really wish y'all were better so we could really kind of put Victor on the platform that he deserves to be on. I mean, they really did want to highlight what he was, and all the things how many packages did you see on both Saturday and Sunday on Wemby? I mean, they followed him around reading to kids, and this is Wemby in this crowd, and this is him sitting next to Trey, and oh my goodness, did we get enough photo ops between those two guys over the weekend? So
they are so lucky. I mean, we are so lucky. On Friday night when Wemby was introduced, it was so cool how he pointed to the Spurs logo on his warm-up jacket. And man, don't abuse that. Don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? Like how much this dude loves this team and how much this dude loves this culture and what's going on here. And maybe that's why they're sending the benefit as far as they are.
You hit it on the head.
That's worth considering.
I think you have hit it on the head, that he is happy and they don't want to rock the cart. And if they, if it involves losing a few more games, they're willing to do that.
It's just such a shame. I mean, and maybe we are trying to have our cake and eat it too, which is an expression I'm not a fan of. But I mean, it's difficult to be this bad. It's difficult to be this bad, and they have found a way.
Well, I want to put you on the sense. See, that's where, okay, I'm bringing you along to where I want you to be. So if we know that the difficulty in being this bad, we have to assume that a guy like Pop, and the brain trust that is, has a plan, a goal in mind. That it might not have been the original goal, but they've recalibrated and we're headed towards something. And if it is indeed the draft, now is the time to start paying attention. So as we start getting closer and closer to the tournament, as the conference season starts to wind down and games truly matter, now's the time as Spurs fan to start dialing into these college games and going, okay, I'm looking at my roster. I know what free agents are going to be out there, and I know the Spurs are going to swing for the fences for that. But the guys that win titles are the ones that you draft at 15. The guys that you draft at 8 that you kind of think, if things work out, this might be perfect. The kind of thing the Spurs really haven't done very well lately. Well, my first guy that I'm looking at, Rob Dillingham. I'm Spurs fans, if you haven't been paying attention, go watch him. Do you think that's the kind of guy that is draftable in the top 10? That could immediately help. In my mind, as I head through what's going to be a plot, I don't see any wins coming anytime soon. I have to find something to look forward to and hang my hat on. And now it's going to be the college draft. I did it last year with Wemby, and I'm readjusting and recalibrating in a lot of different ways. And this is one of them. I'm going to just pay attention to college basketball and look at this process as one that's going to be not on my schedule, because that's obvious. Not on the Spurs fan schedule. And Pop's made it very, very apparent. This is a Spurs thing, and this is a glacial movement. This ain't a quick turnaround idea.
You mentioned it might be time to pay just a little bit more attention to the college world to open things up. And that was a thought I shared yesterday as well. And so I thought, okay, this is UConn's world. Let me see what their world looks like. Poof. Like, it was just a funny thing to dive into yesterday, specifically in that particular.
And then watch Creighton take down UConn on the road.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the mighty Creighton. Who would have thought?
They bombed them, and it was a fun basketball game. And if you are indeed a basketball fan and you're starved for entertainment without something to, without an allegiance, the college games over the last couple of days have really been heating up as conference season winds down. And of course, we're the home for your Texas Aggies. Last night they went down to Arkansas, who came into College Station and beat them. I don't know what to make of the different conferences. I will say this as we get closer and closer to the tournament, that I don't know what the Big 12 either scares me to death, or there could be 3 teams from the Big 12 in the Final Four. It's one or the other. They could all be really good, or they could all be just awful enough to make each other look good, if that makes any sense. Because a couple of years ago, the Big 10 did that to us. They sent like 9 teams to the tournament, and all of them lost in the first weekend.
I mean, we're approaching the most wonderful time of the year, obviously, in a lot of ways. And the number of kind of question marks that are hovering that we're going to have chaotic answers to in the weeks that unfold is just